Good morning, everyone. Here we have the next part of our Total War Warhammer playthrough tutorial, how to, I don't even know what to call it. Anyway, part 2. Here on the left-hand side, Introduction to Battle, we have our hero. Well, in this case, I don't know if hero is the correct term, but the person leading the army that we're attacking with on the left. You can also see a list of all of the units, as well as a bar showing the winds of magic, or the approximate amount of, not approximate, I guess it is very precise, the amount of mana and power, winds of magic that you'll have within this battle. On the opposite side, you'll see a portrait of the enemy army, as well as all of their forces, as well as any positive effects or negative effects that they may have affecting them. Now, here at the bottom in the center, you'll see battle deployment. This basically is telling you that this is a battle. Underneath that, thank you, Malekith. Underneath that is the balance of power. The yellow will always be your army, and the red will always be the enemy army. So you can see here that the game predicts that we have a overwhelming chance to crush this army. So sometimes it's going to be much closer than that. And again, it's just an approximation. You might be able to do much better. It says we're attacking Clan Septic. The region is Har Caldra. The terrain type is a tundra. Now, importantly, here at the bottom, we have Scout Terrain, which will display a preview of the battle map. So we can see we're going to be able to deploy somewhere here in the yellow, and they'll be able to deploy somewhere here in the red. Here we have the Fight Battle. Here we have Auto Resolve. Fight Battle lets us go into the battle and manually fight and try to win. Auto Resolve lets the computer fight for us. However, generally we have a better chance of winning if we do it ourselves. And then Retreat, which lets us run away. However, you don't always have the option of retreating if you are the one that's being attacked instead of just attacking. And then the option of saving. So I always like to save just in case something were to go wrong. And let's jump into this fight. Alright, welcome back. Okay, so here we can see, if we look around, pretty intense little environment we've got here. Dave mentioned it was tundra, lots of trees, lots of snow. So let's go over and move down here a little bit. Okay, we can see our army. So, top, if you watch the video I had on the campaign, the options here at the top are going to be very similar, almost exactly the same. However, up here at the top, we do have now the battle allied armor troop count. So you can see that the enemy has 571 troops and we have 395. However, even with them outnumbering us, the bar is heavily in the direction of us. Next to that, you have Murderous Prowess. Now, this effect only applies to Dark Elves, so don't worry about this if you're not Dark Elf. But if you are a Dark Elf, when this bar fills up, you get a big buff to all of your units for a period of time. Over here on the right hand side, we have the map showing the terrain and features like that. Hitting the arrow will allow you to make it super small or super big or anything in between. Above that, we have 6 buttons, but 5 of them are small. The first one is pause. Hitting this will stop the game and give you the option of controlling and looking around and trying to do more with your time. Slow motion, play normal, play double, and fast forward. I'm not actually sure if that's 1.5 times, but it's fast forward and super fast forward. And then we have the tactical map. So clicking this tactical map, or scrolling the wheel all the way out, or scrolling all the way in, we'll switch back and forth between tactical view and tactical map. So tactical view here will give us some new options. For example, we have a different perspective, and our units are different icons, a little bit easier to see. We can rotate the view, move the view around, and here it gives us a much better view of the actual terrain, as well as the dark areas, which are areas in which we don't have any sight and we cannot see any enemies there. So just another way to tactically kind of decide if you're in the right area or not. So we do know that the enemy is going to be somewhere in the red. We don't know where. Now moving here down to the bottom, let's see, we've got a list of all of our army units. We've got Malekith, who's a wizard, and then moving across here we've got all of our other units. Down at the very bottom we can toggle the speed by either hitting R or clicking the button to make them run or walk. Running will get there faster, but it's going to use more of their vigor and they're going to tire out more quickly. Next to that you have toggle melee mode. If you have units that have a combination of archery and upfront attacks, then you would use this tab so that you could switch back and forth between the ability for them to attack up close and far away. You don't want to have them accidentally run in and attack if they can continue to fire from far away, unless you need them to support another unit or it's something you thought about in advance. So F is the option to toggle them out of melee mode on or off. Halt, which is backspace. This basically stops all current actions and the unit will stop where it is and not do anything. Next is group. Group will allow you to assign things into groups that you can put them in and select them later. So if I select Malekith by left clicking and then click group by hitting G or clicking this button, it'll put him in a bar or box with a little red 1 on it. If I click on a separate unit, like say this artillery, and then click the 1 key on my keyboard, it will select Malekith once again. And so I can put him in a group, and no matter what happens in the chaos of battle, all I have to do is hit 1, and he will be in a group again. Now these groups are only for the current battle. Win or lose the next battle, none of the groups will persist. So underneath that we have formation. So I need to select 2 units in order to set a formation. So formations here, I have missile front or melee front. If I select melee front, then it arranges the units into a formation where melee units will be in the front and missile units and artillery will be at the back. If I do missile front, then units with the missile will be in the front and melee units will be in the middle and artillery will be in the rear. Why would you do this, you might ask? Well, we'll get into that a little bit more with the strategic section, but let's just say that there's a lot more that goes into combat other than just range. The speed of the unit, its ability to hide, magical effects, all of these can give effects and abilities that you can use to affect the combat. And so in some of our later more advanced combat tactics videos, we'll see how having melee in front or missile in front can be both as advantageous or disastrous depending on how you set your troops up. Next we have guard mode. Guard mode will enable or disable depending on if you select it. So you can see there that when I select it, it turns to a white shield. When I unselect it, it turns to a red shield. So a unit in guard mode will stay where he is told to stay and fight there, but will not pursue enemy units. A unit without guard mode will simply chase units to the end of the world. Well, in this case, the end of the map. And then finally at the end, we have this withdraw button. If a unit is getting heavily weakened or killed and you want them to withdraw to try to save them, you can click the withdraw button. You can also hit this arrow here on the right to toggle the army panel. Okay, so on the far left we have a picture showing the unit that we currently have selected. If we toggle the unit details, that is with the I button, or by clicking this button, we get the stats that the units have. Now the stats is probably an entire video just by itself, so we won't get too much into that, but you'll be able to see general ideas of things like the health. Green effects here will be listed about positive things, so even if you don't really know much about the game, these effects like shields, anti-large, charge defense against large, these effects can be really effective in trying to understand how to build an army and a strategy to counteract enemy advantages. So that's the unit details. And then we also have the unit camera, which you can click on, and this zooms you really close in, and it actually locks the camera in. So I can only go, I can only go so far away from that unit now. And you can unselect that by hitting delete. So now that we have the basics of what's going on there, let's see what this big thing in the center here is. So again, Winds of Magic are what you need in order to cast spells. So even though Malekith here is a spellcaster, he doesn't actually have any spells yet. Oh, excuse me. He doesn't actually have any spells yet, so this is not such a big of a deal, but the enemy units in army may have spells, so it may come into play. If we want to, we can start this battle with 11 power out of our total of 30, or we can click gamble to try to get higher than that. So let's go ahead and click gamble just to see what happens, positive or negative. And here we can see that Renaud is with us, and so we start with 16 instead of 11, so that's great. Now we have the option of starting the deployment, and now things change. I said that Malekith didn't have spells, but I was not aware of the fact that spells were hidden until after you picked the Winds of Magic. So after we picked the Winds of Magic, things have changed, and on the bottom right here we can see this blue circle with our Winds of Magic. We can also see the spells that Malekith has. Now if I pick the Blackguard of Nagaron, they have no spells. So they're not going to be able to have any spells that they can do. However, Malekith does have spells. So I won't really go into too much into the spells themselves for right now, but we will go ahead and just really quickly, without even really explaining what I'm doing, I'm just gonna let this battle play out just so that we can kind of see, get an idea of what we can expect. Now, a lot of the things that I'm doing here may be self-explanatory, you may already understand, may be pretty easy to do. But the reason that I am doing this without going too much into it is I think there's a lot to be learned by simply watching. Okay, so we were able to spot some of the rats. So it's pretty, we've got a pretty good idea that they're going to be around there. So I won't just sit here and not explain anything. If in the top right hand corner you can see now that we've got units appearing, Malekith is coming in to do his thing. Now if we zoom in, we can see like the rats are running in. Here's our executioners. Let's see if we can, there we go, just knock the interface down a little bit. And just kind of look at this. So there's snow falling through the trees. Units, oh, here come our artillery shells flying in. Really just chopping pieces of those rats up. Now you can see this here, the little effects kind of appearing over the rats as they're fighting. Now this is again for mostly cinematic effect. I don't recommend that you sit in this view without an interface for any extended period of time. You can see here the spearmen with the shields pretty resoundingly beating the rats. The horn sounds and the rats break and flee. Artillery continues to rain down and on them, but that was not an entire army-wide running. Oh, these ones are running now. You can see our executioners of Hargareth chasing them. Here come the artillery shells raining into them. You can see small shockwaves in the dirt. Now these rats, they're very fearful, but they're also very wily, and they're gonna have no problem coming back after a defeat, or a supposed defeat. Oh, brutal. Now notice how they're throwing stuff. And here's their hero, the leader of the army, running away. Alright. So we just told all of our units to attack the hero. Here come the artillery shells. Oh! That one took out one right next to him. Now here come our executioners running up the hill to engage. You can see in the back there the crossbowmen firing over the heads of their allies. Artillery shells continuing to fly in. Now these executioners are Hargareth right here. Actually kind of in a bad place, getting shot in the back by the artillery. But allies are coming in from the side. Rats are running in all directions. And you can see as they flee down the hill, that is long, as long as we don't lose sight of them. Oh, they stopped. So they ran, and now they're going to get enveloped. So as you can see here that they're being attacked from one direction by the executioners, and we're attacked by another direction by these spearmen. And now these ones, they're just getting completely surrounded. Here's their hero. One little fat last fight. But he's completely surrounded. His units are being driven away by artillery, so he's not getting any assistance or reinforcements. And now everyone is just attacking him. Look at these rats. They're trying to pull some hijinks here and sneak into the side of our archers. But the archers spotted them, and the artillery shells start raining in. Crossbow bolts start raining in. Now they're in a great position to sneak in and flank our units, but since they got seen right here, they're just getting shot to pieces, and they have their sides exposed as they run through. So that's even more detrimental. Yeah, you can see them just getting picked off here. They're throwing stuff into our troops, but they're taking just devastating losses from it. Arrows ricocheting off trees. Just continuing to shoot at them. Okay, so now it's a archer versus archer fight as they shoot at ours. However, the Dark Elf archers are very heavily armored, at least compared to rats. And with that, we pull out a victory. So you can see here the bar is completely in our favor. You can see some of our units pretty severely heavily damaged. So we'll click End Battle here. Decisive victory. We have the option of saving a replay or ending the battle. Now this, again, I didn't really take very seriously, so we'll go ahead and just end it. Here we can see on the left hand side all breakdown of all the units, as well as damage or number of kills. Here in the center we can see the number of units deployed for both sides, as well as total losses and how many units remaining, and then the opposing army on the right, as well as their kills and their losses, represented by the empty red bar. And then now, here at the bottom is a equally powerful and important part. We gained 160 loot. We gained another level of experience. And now we have the option of a couple of choices. We can ransom the slaves, which will give us extra money, but a negative effect of making our troops return back to the army slower, casualty replenishment. We can murder the captives, which gives everyone in our army 100 extra experience, or we can enslave them, which gives us back 12% of the units that we lost in the fight, which is represented by unit replenishment, and gives us 42 slaves. Now you'll notice when I mouse over enslave, the units over here on the left, their health bar actually shows yellow on it. That's the amount of health that they will get back. So we'll go ahead and enslave them. And with that, we have our first battle, and I know it was very quick and kind of sloppy. We went over everything really quick, but I think that's enough of it to give you a general idea of how to maybe get through your next couple of battles if you've never played before. So we'll continue to make more videos and address more complicated subjects, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again, and have a great day.